Welcome to another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show, what we like to call Monday Night Football. Give you guys a little chance to get in the chat. No fighting. Se agarraron la semana pasada ustedes. All right, welcome to another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show. I'm Wiso from FootMex Nation. This is an hour-long podcast dedicated to all things Mexican football, Mexican soccer, and everything that entails that. Saying hi to everybody on the chat already. Let's get right into it. As you know, we like to start off with a big question to get everybody involved. We tweeted it out a while ago. We also have it already on the chat. As this is in the chat, estamos en Peru. Somebody already on the chat hating on our song. It just gets the thing going, bro. All right, big question. If you're a young Mexican footballer, you're about to play football, you get to choose which Liga MX side would you most want to be associated with. Let's go with you, Mr. Cesar in San Diego, Tijuana. ¿Cómo estás?
Hello, doing well. Unfortunately, I'm not a professional Mexican player.
No.
That would be pretty cool if I was. But if I was, I think I would go to Pachuca. I think that's the easy answer. I think they have like an incredible development facility. They have a lot of integrity, and it looks like they'd probably give me a lot of playing time. So I say Pachuca. That's what I would do.
Pachuca.
Yeah.
Mr. Jason Markowitz?
Yes, sir. It's a good answer. I like that answer. I'm going to disagree, though. I'd go with also caveat. I am also not a young Mexican footballer. But if I were, I would. I think I'd go with Santos because
that was my number two.
I think I considered Chivas. I think that's a good choice. But I think I'd go Santos because you're going to get the playing time, get to hang out with our buddy Kim Tate, but also like the willingness to sell to Europe.
Major reason.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to get playing time. It's a good chance you're going to be able to come through the system, but it's also a good chance that if you're looking for that European move that they will sell you. So I think you don't get that with a lot of these Liga MX clubs all the time. So you get that with Santos.
And like Pachuca, they'd probably give you playing time as well, as we're seeing right now with the young Mexicans in the roster.
What, Jason, we tweeted out to the Mexican Soccer Show. What were the answers?
There were about 52 people that said Chivas. Which I mean, it's a good answer. I mean, because there aren't going to be buying South Americans to take your place, right? So I mean, there's a good chance you get some playing time that way. But we had a few calls for Pachuca, and Polito said that the side that gives me minutes, which I think is what it really all comes down to.
So the U.S.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
And MLS.
What anything else?
I'll be joining the San Jose Earthquakes.
Bad choice. Boo, MLS.
I mean, you'd have to go for like Chivas or even America. I mean, as much as it's a big club. I mean, if you're going to start out as a youngster and play the best, obviously America isn't the best club at the moment, but if we have to say that Real Madrid, Barcelona, if you're in Spain or big clubs in England, Manchester United, Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal, you'd have to come in with at least a top four, except for Cruz Azul. But yeah, either Chivas, probably Chivas. I would go with probably Chivas just because of they're winners and you're coming in. And I am a young footballer, so watch out.
Okay.
So Chivas, if you're listening,
Chivas, if you're listening,
look out for this guy.
Didn't the whatever tomorrow guy, like big YouTube guy, I think he tried to join some soccer clubs. So look, maybe there's a chance. Didn't go too well for him because I think I saw him blogging. All right, guys. Well, we have a great show for you guys today. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Monday Night Football. I'd like to say hello to everybody already in the chat. My special friend, the guy with name 23, who always says Fuera Wiso. How's it going? He still hasn't given me a letter of why he doesn't like me, wants me out of the show, by the way. So I'm still waiting for Wiso@footmexnation.com.
Well, it looks like you did make some rotations with the guests tonight, and I'm a little uneasy about that. I feel like you should just, go strong base.
You never know.
Bringing in these new guys. It's a little weird, man. It's a little weird.
Pedro Joel Espinosa, Joel G, MJP, Picasso, Lots of people, if you haven't joined us on the chat, it's kind of fun. And I know there's a lot of you that listen to on iTunes. So thank you to our iTunes friends that are watching it, that are listening to us, if it's by car or maybe you're working out. If you're working out, dale, keep going. Don't stop. If you're just laying on your couch and listening to us, hey, that's cool too.
Keep doing that too.
Keep doing that too. Whatever makes you happy.
Don't stop. Yeah.
And but I do want to know, I was looking at our iTunes page. Go in there if you listen to us on iTunes and rate us, because I think the last person that rated us on iTunes was like 2013, which is really good rating. But
that might have been
me. Probably these guys are awesome. I wish I was there one day. Cesar, you're here. You made it. So yeah, guys. So go in there and whatever. If people like it, give us the I think is it stars, right? I think 5 stars. If you want to put a comment that we should do a better job, go ahead and do that too. But don't do that. Don't just forget it. Don't do that. What I said. But it's gonna be a lot of fun today. Mr. Naive took the night off, and so did Mr. Tom Marshall. So for those of you guys that are wondering where those guys are at, the ESPN Mexico guys, well, Tom's ESPN US, but he's in Mexico. They took the night off. So you're stuck with Mr. Jason Markowitz, who, if a lot of people don't know, Jason is in Philly. He runs Soccer Mexicana and does a great job giving you all of the news of Mexico and Mexican football in an email form. So we're going to throw out some links at the end, but Jason did a good job. And if you don't know, Cesar is all things Xolos down in San Diego, and also ESPN and 442. Man, you just write for a lot of people, obviously. I do. But giving you a little plugs in there. So before we get started. All right, well, let's just jump in. Lots and lots of news. You saw a tweet about maybe 2-3 o'clock. I tweeted something that I didn't see anybody talking about it, but it's all over Mexico, and hopefully we get a little discussion going within you guys. But apparently the suits, the FMF suits, got together today, invited Juan Carlos Osorio, but Juan Carlos Osorio is vacationing in Colombia, and they had a little meeting of what they want to see, maybe some changes within Juan Carlos Osorio in a way he does. And some of those changes were obviously no more rotaciones, no more experiments, and at least having maybe someone in the coaching staff be Mexican or know the Mexican player in that sense. This wasn't an ultimatum that we want these to be seen right away. I think it was just suggestions and a meeting. It was a formal meeting, even though they didn't have a press conference and no one's talking about it. But it's kind of been already reported in Mexico. Those were the topics regarding this meeting of federativos. We like to call them suits, not necessarily the owners, but I think that's the next step, right? You could start seeing from the experience of reporting about the Mexican national team, where the owners are starting to get ready and start to either look for a plan B, Grupo Pachuca on this side, Vergara and Chivas on this side, Televisa and America on this side. So if there is a beginning, at least for Osorio's demise, for the Fuera Osorio crowd, this could be it. Or this may be just a kind of a warning. This is what we want to see. And do you accept Juan Carlos Osorio? And I think that's more of the meeting that they will have. Juan Carlos Osorio obviously wasn't there. And, you see this a lot in Mexico. I don't know if you see it a lot anywhere else in any other national teams, but that's where it all starts. So I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts on this. First of all, we know if they're trying to change Juan Carlos Osorio, it's not going to happen. The guy said this is what he's sticking with. It could be maybe the latter. We only have 2 games coming up, and maybe this is an ultimatum for them. If you do not at least get 1 point and get us in the World Cup in the next 2 games, maybe we've told you and you didn't make any changes, and you're still not part of. You haven't gotten into the World Cup or send Mexico in the World Cup, and maybe these are consequences. But Jason, I know you in the Mexican soccer show have said Fuera Osorio for a while now. And maybe now these are points. We don't want you to do this. Do you agree?
I mean, I think generally this is any steps like this is a bad idea. I mean, I agree that this could be like the first kind of cracks in the armor, the first things that kind of lead to further steps. but I don't think anywhere where you're getting these, so-called FMF suits together and making kind of coaching decisions is really, or not necessarily the decisions, but kind of planning for the coach. I think it's generally just a bad idea. Even if I agree with some of those principles that you're putting forth, I think it's just a bad idea because ultimately I think these decisions should be the manager's decisions, whether it comes down to the fact that Osorio needs to go or he should stay on through the World Cup. Ultimately, I think it lies with the manager. And I think anytime you get the suits in the room to make those kind of decisions and say, this is what we want our coach to do, I think you're starting down a pretty bad road. And I don't think anything good could come of it. Whether that ultimately leads to Osorio being fired, I don't know. But I don't think these are good steps.
And from my understanding, it's all about they want less rotations and they want a stronger base, more consistent base. But, I mean, there's only 4 World Cup qualifiers left. After that, do they want that from friendlies? Do they want that in some Soccer United marketing friendly out here in the U.S. in late 2017? I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's a little confusing, especially after the FMF really, those higher ups backed him, and really, and then the national team backed him too. Those players, a lot of noteworthy players over the summer. So, I mean, my feelings are if you are going to drop Osorio, just do it now, get in a new manager, get something going on. And I think that it's a little weird that this might be the first step, especially if they're going to potentially fire him a month from now, 2 months from now. Why not? If you're gonna fire Osorio before the World Cup, why not just do it now? I don't know why you'd want to delay that, but I still think he's gonna be coaching Mexico leading up into the next World Cup. But I don't know. It's a little confusing.
Go ahead, Jason. We have a good comment from the chat.
Yeah, it's Picasso in the chat saying, I feel like trying to force Osorio to change his style is worse than simply hiring a new manager. I can't fit a square peg in a circle or round hole. I think you want to say that. But, yeah.
I agree with that, right? If you hired the manager, you knew where he was coming from. Was he making that many rotaciones? I didn't know anything about Osorio, and I was still the one that was surprised that Osorio was the one, but now he's here. In the way that I kind of see it, maybe the these guys are having this meeting to kind of give them this, hey, if you can't get at least 1 point in the next 2 games, you might be out. This is it. This is kind of okay, this is what we see, what's wrong. Prove us wrong again, which I think we're going to win and we're going to qualify. But it's kind of this is where we see it. You don't understand the Mexican player, even though all the players are happy to be with him from what we know. And that's why maybe have a Mexican or someone in the coaching staff that understands the Mexican player, which is something that was he going to fire some of his Colombian staff, the assistant coach, and bring somebody in? That's just going to be problematic. The whole experiment thing, a defined starting 11 and then the rotaciones. So maybe this is just kind of a warning. What we see is not working where we want to be in that level. And here comes 2 tough games in our region, and these guys are going to want to have points. And again, we couldn't, we suffer against teams in the Azteca when they either bunker down, and maybe this is just kind of the beginning of that. Or this could just all be, hey, this is what we agree, this is what we think. Let's have a conversation at least, because overall it's a job, right?
Yeah, and from my understanding, that wasn't the only thing that they talked about in this meeting. I thought that from what I read, it was also talk about a potential tournament with MLS, and that they're trying to figure out maybe some sort of details regarding that. So I do wonder how much of that focus might have taken away a little bit from Osorio. Maybe the big thing that we're all reporting about is this is just the first step to Osorio being potentially fired, but maybe a big part of this focus of this meeting could have been on that tournament that they want to start with Major League Soccer.
Yeah, and then that's true, because even other notes that were talked about or reported on was the chant at games, Tigres doing their part to try to make that chant obsolete in their games. I think rebuilding a school if they said Tigres. And I actually didn't watch that game, but I did see a clip. And did they do it? Was it successful?
It was clearly they were clearly saying Tigres throughout the match. It was pretty cool to see, actually. But
and I think that was one of the things too of how to take that. Which maybe all the clubs are going to start doing that. I think that's kind of cool. But then the national team comes and they're not going to listen unless you're in Mexico, regardless of what stand you take on it. I don't think that's going to be gone.
I guess I'm still just not convinced that I know this is a step forward. It could be leading to Osorio being fired, but I just don't think that he's going to be fired. I'm fully convinced that he's going to be leading Mexico in 2018 in Russia.
Yeah. No, I mean, let's be honest. If he doesn't get this next 1 point in these 2 games, we play horribly. There's your answer where we're still not qualified to Russia. And I'm not saying that we're having a problem because we still have 5 more games, 5, 6 more games, but
4 more games.
4 more games. And it comes down to the last 2. I mean, I think Honduras has to like win 6-0 the next 3 games in order for us not to make it with a tie. I think we're going to be okay. But it just goes to show you that we have a question, Joel, I think from the chat that said, how many Europeos in September 1st? I fully see the full squad for September 1st. These are qualifiers. We need to get at least 1 point in order for Mexico to be in the World Cup. So it could be 11 Europeos. We saw it for the first time in Confederations Cup. So everyone's expected to go unless there's somebody that says I don't want to because I want to stay with my team, but I really doubt that. And Tecatito, hopefully they return on Tecatito, right?
Right.
Yeah, Tecatito seems to be doing fine. Yeah, he's been playing with Porter recently. I think he should be healthy by then. I mean, he might already be healthy. It seems like he already is at close to full health, so I think he'll most definitely be ready.
Joel Bot 77, Bora was sacked after qualifying to the World Cup. Osorio needs to win style points. Osorio, what does Osorio need to do? Osorio needs to win 2-3-0, not use rotations, and Raul Jimenez with the Chilena. It doesn't matter the style points. People that want him out are going to want him out because even if he wins 5-0 and the rotations are gone because of the Chile loss, because of Germany loss, Portugal and all that, you're not going to believe. The only thing that's going to make, I guess the fuera Osorio to Osorio believers is again getting to the 5th, 6th game in the World Cup, and even then, I guarantee you the excuses would be, that's because we have great players, it's a great generation, anyone could have done it, So Rafa Puente for 2018.
I guess the thing here, my final thoughts on this, just the thing here going forward is that, all right, so if they do want him to have less rotations, they do want him to have less changes, that makes sense. That seems practical after him experimenting over the summer. But Mexico was very close, on the cusp of qualifying for the World Cup. So will Osorio listen to those who want him, to have a strong base, or will he see some of these World Cup qualifiers, maybe that last 1 or 2, as an opportunity to try out new players once again? And I think that'll be interesting to see if he does do that, or if he shocks everyone and decides to play with his best options available. So just, keeping this meeting in mind, just to see what Osorio does, especially since Mexico is really, really close to already qualifying for the World Cup.
And the reason why he was doing all these rotations is because he's looking for players, experimenting with players. I got a chance to talk to Fabian a few weeks back, and one of the things he said is that there was flying practice. We didn't have that much time to practice. It looked like we couldn't really get the ideas that Osorio wanted, and that's where the rotations kind of came in. Not excusing what happened, but maybe finally he's realized, okay, 2 years of rotations in my book. I've finally done it. Here's my starting 11. And it's kind of funny because there was this tweet, and I'll retweet it out of my Twitter. This guy that kind of made some kind of more of like a research piece, and Osorio does have like 7 or 8 players that he always plays with.
It's like Layun, Herrera.
Yeah, who's going to be in the starting line. Maybe he'll have Gio on one side or Bell on the other, or put a center back where he's left back. But you are going to know that, Layun, Ochoa, Guardado, everyone, Tecatito, Chicharito, Herrera, they're going to start. You're going to have like 8 or 9 that are going to start. Maybe here it comes. We'll see where that goes. At the same time, I definitely could see Osorio not being happy. Let's say they come to the hammer, no more rotations, no more this or that, and he's gone. He's like, I'm out. It's the type of player, and something that Tom always says, get ready for another team to swoop him up. I saw in the chat already, I think the guy named 23 said, the only way that I like Osorio is if he beats Brazil or Argentina 5-0. So that's our fans.
There you go. That's practical. It's practical.
Because
I think that's doable.
Germany was, beat Brazil, and then they won the World Cup. So
I thought, I always thought 4-0 against Argentina would be easy, but I think 5-0 would be, a little bit more of what we should be shooting for.
Yeah. Fun. All right, guys. All right. Well, any other questions or anything else on the chats? Definitely keep it going. We're definitely watching. Max Goldsman says, Tom for FMF. Yeah. I'll jump on that. We'll do that. All right. Let's talk about Liga MX. Liga MX, exciting week 3. What is going on with those cholos, Cesar? We'll get into that in a minute.
Yeah.
But the good thing is that you're there, so we can get that.
Jornada
Jornada 3.
A little boring.
Jornada 3 is in the book. Early season tables tend to be a little crazy. But what are the biggest surprises after these 3 weeks? What's the surprise? Anyone surprise you? Obviously, we're going to say Lobos, but anything else outside of that? And we'll go into it too.
For me, I mean, it's certainly Lobos. Like, but you have those teams that come up, and I mean, we've had it recently, and certainly in recent years, the teams come up and they just kind of go on a little hot streak at the beginning. And certainly Tijuana it deserves mention for where they're at right now. But at the same time, like them having a period of transition wasn't totally out of left field, considering new manager, new players, loss of a lot of key players as well. I mean, for me, the biggest surprise is Pachuca. Pachuca was a bit of struggle at the beginning here. Now, they haven't had the easiest schedule. I mean, at Pumas, America at home, and then at Lobos, I guess is a tough game now. I don't know. But it's surprising because, I mean, they lost Chucky. But for me, I expect them to just come back incredibly strong from that.
Yeah.
And kind of refocus. And so much talent in that team. I mean, it's 3 games. It's early. It's not like the alarm bells need to be sounding at this point for the team because there's plenty of time, and you really just have to be in that top 8 at the end. But for them to be with 3 losses at this point is shocking to me because I expect them to be in the top of the league at all times, really.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised by Pachuca as well. Xolos, I expected like we can get into this later, but just new roster, new manager, someone who's never coached Liga MX beforehand. And the departure of key players, like really important players like Guido Rodriguez and Aviles Hurtado. I think one thing that no one's really talked about enough is the fact that Necaxa is doing really well. I don't think anybody really anticipated Necaxa would be, and I know they're not technically in first place, but they have the same amount of points as Lobos WAP. They have 7 points. They're undefeated. And I think they're being led by a player like Jesus Isihara, who on that right wing, who's doing a decent so far this season. So I think that's another thing that's a little surprising to me. I thought when I looked at some of the transfers from over the summer, I thought that they were a team that can maybe sneak into the top 8, and I think that they still can, but I didn't expect them to have this strong of a start to the season. So I'm going to say, of course, Lobos WAP is the big story, which we all should be talking about, but I think Necaxa also should get some recognition as well for having just as strong of a start.
Necaxa is like Monterrey, like the Potros, Atlante, where they can have like 11-game streak and you're not going to have them as a contender no matter what they do.
Yeah. I'm not going to say they're a contender.
No, but even then, it's like you're like, they'll win 5-0, 6-0, they'll win 9, 10 games. And you're just kind of like, wait till Tigres wakes up, Pachuca wakes up, America, and Chivas, and everyone.
That's also the thing too, is that we're talking about just 3 weeks worth of Liga MX matches. Anything can happen. Lobos WAP can lose the next 5 matches, and I wouldn't be that surprised. Pachuca could win the next 5, and I wouldn't be that surprised. But I mean, it is interesting to know, at least with like Lobos WAP, and I think Necaxa. But like you said, you never know what's going to happen with them.
I want to go with Xolos. I'm really surprised. Obviously, Lobos WAP and Pachuca, but really, I mean, just. It's not very surprising. New coach, new players, short season, but at the same time, in the way that they really, really are struggling. Like, I didn't see it coming with the Cholos being the worst team.
Yeah.
So, and I know that you're there. So, Cesar, I mean, what aside from the obvious of coaching staff and players not being there, is there anything else? Anything internal?
Yeah, no, I mean, I talked to Paul Arriola after the last week's loss to Monterrey, and he just told me, that just the team doesn't have chemistry yet. And he mentions a lot of the stuff that we were talking about recently, and that it might just take a longer time that we anticipate. That everyone thought that, especially after Xolos had those 2 fantastic seasons where they finished in first place for 2 regular seasons in a row, everyone kind of assumed that they would just hit the ground running for whatever reason in this tournament. But they haven't, and it's just I think it's going to take some time, and I think it's I think the style of play that Xolos have might make it a little difficult too, because it's very high pressing, and that allowed Monterrey last week to really take over some space in the defense. But I don't know. I think the big question going forward for Xolos is whether the team can adapt to the manager's system, or if ownership might get a little impatient and decide to drop Chacho Coudet.
We'll get into that in a minute. But okay, so these surprises, I named Xolos, you named Pachuca, Necaxa for Lobos in there. Which one of those trends do you see breaking first? Pachuca winning, Xolos winning, finally Lobos WAP. They could all happen next week.
I mean, Pachuca comes to mind, but they're going against Tigres this upcoming weekend, so I'm not sure if they can break that streak against them. I know Tigres haven't been the best, but I'm gonna say Xolos. I think Xolos are gonna get a win against Puebla, because Puebla has been just as awful. Puebla have been really, really awful to watch. Just defensively, they're just. I mean, it's a very poor side. So I think it'll be Xolos who finally break that surprising streak where they haven't had a single point.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, a trip to Puebla is a good way to get some points, really.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, I don't know if the Lobos trend continues. I mean, that's an easy one to say is going to end based on the talent, but going to the CEU this weekend, despite I'm not necessarily a big believer in Pumas this season, always a difficult place to travel to. Always tough. They could, but I don't know. I'd be super impressed they go to the CEU.
Who has Lobos played? Pachuca?
Two other teams.
Lobos, they tied against Santos. They beat Querétaro 4-0, and then they beat Pachuca 3-2.
I mean, can we see it now? Now they're going to Pumas.
Yeah, no, I would.
Because a lot of people didn't have them against. I mean, Pachuca. Pachuca's going to wake up and okay, but Lobos is coming. I mean, they're inspired.
I mean, I guess with Pachuca too, something that we haven't talked about yet is just Keisuke Honda or Keisuke Honda. I say Keisuke. Keisuke, not Keisuke.
Naive taught us how to say Keisuke.
Yeah, Keisuke Honda. He's still coming back from it looked like a little bit of a muscle injury, but he sent out that tweet a couple weeks ago where he said that they told him that he's going to be ready in 3 to 4 weeks. He thinks he's already feeling great, so he could be coming back sooner than later. So I think that's something to keep an eye on. So maybe, I mean, that might be the big answer for Pachuca. And I think if you could have Keisuke Honda and Eric Gutierrez in that midfield for Pachuca, that could be something really, really, really exciting. That's one of the things I'm like most looking forward to this season, is to see those two players working together. So we'll see if he perhaps will make the bench this weekend.
Could be interesting. All right. Pachuca losing 4 though. 4 matches. It'd be interesting if somebody on there. What's the worst start from a winner?
Oh, I don't know.
That would be we should have done a little homework. But anybody that's on the chat,
we didn't prepare for this. We didn't
prepare for that. This is not in the rundown. But I was just kind of thinking about that. Guys on the chat, give you guys something. What was the worst start? I think it's especially going into the Club World Cup and the Conca Champions, and I guess I'm just kind of looking at stats. I mean, if it's having a horrible season and then they go to the Club World Cup, that'd be kind of funny to see. I mean, we need Pachuca.
Worst start to a season, an eventual champion. I mean, I think that's your guys, isn't it, Wiso? I mean, probably.
And then winning again though. Huh? Yeah. That was a bad start, but then that Campeonato came again, so I'll take it.
That's the magic of Rafa Marquez for you.
Yes. And Gulit Peña, by the way. Cesar, there's some reports that he's the same Gulit Peña.
Yeah, I mean, you can't confirm or deny that stuff, but just like apparently, apparently. He hasn't been the best off the field. According to reports, I'm not going to say that did happen, but I did say that Caixinha did say that he is still trying to adapt towards the new system, towards the new environment.
He's trying to adapt, but then people see him drinking. That's how you know.
There you go. It's a more blunt way of discussing that. Yeah. But he hasn't. I don't think he's gotten a start yet for Rangers, whether it be in a friendly or whether it be in a Scottish Premiership Scottish Premiership, Scottish Premier. I don't know. That's the thing I should work on. But
He
yeah,
needs
but
to
he hasn't gotten a start yet with Rangers. But
go back to Leon.
Lalo Herrera.
Oh yeah, La Herrera.
Yeah, I saw a lot of angry comments about him online though. So
No matter
Sure.
what, dude, it's
yeah, sure.
we went a little bit too far. All right, continue with La Liga MX. Picasso says the Pumas went winless first 6 games in 34-35.
Some deep research.
That's some good research there. So maybe we can confirm that. I'm not saying it's true or not. Okay, cool. Let's talk about
paying that much attention in 34-35. I was a little busy then. So, yeah.
Clásico Capitalino. Biggest takeaways from the match, guys.
I think it was just
naive today, but
I mean, I think for me, like the thing that seems like Herrera is kind of reasserting himself at Club America. I mean, it's a simple take, but you kind of see that. I don't know. I hate the term like that, like kind of like that swagger returning, but they're getting something back with Club America again, and you kind of see. I don't know, like kind of that fight, and Pumas, I think, are a little bit of a mess at the moment. But in a rivalry match like that, I think any way you get it done is effective. And for America right now, I see them kind of on the cusp of really turning into I think they're always contenders, but really turning into a legitimate contender at this point. And I think seem like they're really gelling and moving forward. So it seems like a really big win. I mean, I don't think beating Pumas this season is going to be a big win for a lot of teams, but in this in this rivalry match, and I think it could be a first step in something big for America this season.
No, I agree. I mean, it wasn't, like you said, it's not the most scary Pumas roster they were going up against, but Piojo didn't have the best start with America, and of course, when Piojo showed up to America, there are these high expectations for him. I mean, like most other things relating with Club America. And then he had that loss against Querétaro, and there was also the Copa MX loss recently to Atlas. So it wasn't the best start for him, and the best way for him to really show that, like you said, to really show his swag, to really show that, I'm here, we're gonna go forward, we're gonna fight for this title, was to get a victory over the weekend against a crosstown rival. And it didn't matter that it arrived from a Panenka, which was it was incredible to see that from Cecilio Dominguez, but I guess in the end it was a very much needed victory for Piojo in the early stages of his second tenure with Club America. But I'm sure we could talk about the whole podcast about that Panenka. Not only the second one, but also the first one. Oh my God!
Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and talk about Panenka. If you're gonna, how embarrassing is it to miss a Panenka? And then I started going off and started YouTubing Miss Panenkas. There are a ton of Miss Panenkas on there. Yeah. But when it's in that, I mean, you really have to have. I'm just gonna do it, go for it, and get ready for the backlash if it doesn't go in. Chicharito had a Panenka, I think, one of the Mexico games, but you don't see it very, very often. And I'm not saying everybody.
It's crazy for Romero too, because I mean, I think this is a player who's pretty embattled with the team already. Yeah. I don't think he's the most popular player with the fan base based on his production and output, and just generally willingness to miss the sitters. So for him to step up and do that, man, he's got some strong self-confidence. But I worry about his future with the club a bit.
Yeah, that's the crazy about Silvio Romero's. Him scoring and missing a Panenka is a huge difference from Cecilio Dominguez doing it. If Romero would have scored that, everyone would have been like, all right, fine, we'll give him another chance. That's good. We like that. We like that swagger. Second time we use swagger, but that makes sense. When we talk about Club America. That's swagger. Really. That's swagger. But if he would have scored that, people would have been like, fine, that's okay. But because Cecilio Dominguez did it, because this is a guy who scored 2 goals in the last match, that just elevated him almost to a legendary status just within this season already. But yeah, I don't know why Romero decided to do that. Like Jason said, this is a guy who's already highly criticized, and after missing that shot, it was just. You could see it on Twitter. It was easy to see the response on Twitter. I'm sure everyone out there has some America fans. I'm sure they had some very nice words to say about Romero on Saturday night.
Is he known like? I mean, I think the people that do panenkas, it's like I think of Zidane, and you think of these like prolific players that are going to score, Pirlo or and I'm not saying Chicharito is a part of that, but you could see that he has he's going to do it. But I was thinking Romero, wow, he did that.
I think you just have to be very comfortable. You have to be very comfortable in what you're doing, and apparently he is.
And I always think I go back to the keepers in penalty kicks. I'm like, just stand in the middle and at least wait for the ball. Somebody's gonna try to go through the middle every time. I'm like, you can at least if you don't block it, no one says anything to the goalkeeper. Just stay in the middle because someone's gonna try to go to the middle or hit it wrong or whatever. I feel like there's more percentage. It's gotta be some kind of Moneyball stat or somewhere in there where goalkeepers stay and not try to guess.
What I would give to hear the conversation between Cecilio and Saldivar before the PK, because you could see it was very clear that both of them didn't have nice things to say about each other as well. And some people were like, who thought that they were like lip reading, where it says like, oh, I'm gonna do the Panenka. I don't know. Who knows what they actually said to each other, but. Man, that would have been fascinating. Just so fascinating to hear what they said to each other before Cecilio ended up doing that Panenka, which just compensated for that missed Panenka. And also, we have to say too that after Cecilio scored that goal, he like ran to the bench and hugged Romero. It was a huge like embrace between the two guys. Yeah, between the two guys, it's just like that was, and I think that was important for America just to see that guy who scored the game winner. Who then like I don't know, almost like forgave his fellow teammate who missed that earlier opportunity.
But I think Piojo was kind of like seen in the camera, was like, okay, this is who's going to take it after in the second one, right? I mean, I think he was yelling off in the anyways drama.
I don't know.
We should mention too that our guy Naib has a really good article on Cecilio in this match up on ESPN. Yeah. Definitely worth checking out.
There you go. Our guy Naib. All right.
Guy.
Our dude.
Sirens. That staff about Pumas and 34-35. Picasso made that up, so do not.
We're like, all right.
Cool. Well, he's like, he was so confident on it. I mean, these guys sometimes, they do. They all of a sudden they prove us wrong, or they're like, this is wrong, and you did this, and I went ahead with it. I told you maybe it could be wrong, but thank you, Picasso. But you know what? What I like is that he owned up to. He's like, I just made that up, guys.
I'm all about everyone on the YouTube chat just making up like fake, like confirmed news, and just like us trying to like roll with it. I like that. Keep it going, guys.
Chicha did a Panenka in the 5-0 win against El Salvador in the 2011 Gold Cup. It was his first career hat trick.
That's not a Chicharito thing to do, though. I don't think.
No, I remember that. I remember that. I remember him doing that.
Yeah, but I'm just talking about in general. Like, I don't want to see Chicharito.
But you know what? If he does it, you're like, God, that Chicharito. Like, he's always, he's got that attitude. I could see him better than Romero doing.
I think Chicharito is such like a wholesome, like
wholesome.
Professional. Yeah, he seems like a wholesome dude.
Wholesome dude. Today, bachelor number 1 is Chicharito. Wholesome. Is the way to describe.
I'll say he's wholesome.
He prays before the games. Nice.
Calls his grandma, his abuelita every Sunday. Probably calls his abuelita every Sunday. I bet he does.
All right. Okay, we talked about stand-up performances in the Clásico Capitalino. Did it live up to its hype? I thought it was really good. Even game. I know that obviously the win for America, but I thought it was a rather entertaining game, and it lived up to the hype of the Clásico Capitalinos that we normally hear about.
For me, I think it's the best rivalry in Mexico. I mean, it's more
than the Clásico Nacional.
I'm about Mexico, but like for just hatred rivalry, like proper, like these teams hate each other. Man, that it doesn't get much better than the Capitalino. It's for real there in Mexico City.
I've heard that before.
A little bit better. I think Clásico Regio is my favorite one. Capitalino's up there, but Regio's my favorite one.
Regio for just quality, probably. I'd put that at the top.
Irapuato versus León is my favorite. No. You know what, Jason? Not kidding. I remember talking to a player and that said that within players, like the heated, I hate you,
Mhm.
I want you to die type of rivalry. I mean, like the Boca River, like that, those type of players hating each other. The Capitalino is way up there because all those guys usually grew up together and in the same, and they've seen each other since the sevens and tens and 13s, and they've known each other. When you get to Tigres and Monterrey, there isn't that much history between those two players playing since the early stages. So I've heard that before, that if you want like the rivalries that hate each other because they saw each other a lot in those Mexican younger leagues.
I guess from my perspective, it's just more so of like as opposed to stuff on the field, it's just like within the stands. Like it seems like the fan base over there in Monterrey is extremely passionate. It's like it's just always cool to see the Clásico Regio and just to see the way that the stadium atmosphere is. Not that I've ever actually literally been there yet, but just from watching on my couch at home and watching those matches.
Clásico Joven, Clásico Capitalino, Clásico Regio. San Diego gets like an MLS team, there should be some kind of Clásico there, like the Border Classic or something, like
the Border Classic.
Trump's Wall.
Oh yikes!
Something in there. The Clásico.
I think we could do
Clásico de Trump.
I think we could do better than Clásico de Trump. I think there's at least 500 names that are much better.
All right. Let's talk about other news items from last week in Jornada 3. It's Jornada 3. Leon got a point.
I think about Avila Soldado getting 2 goals. First 2 goals for Monterrey against Tijuana. That's
Monterrey's looking good.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun watching Monterrey last week. Not Xolos. It hasn't been that much fun watching Xolos, but just to see how organized and how effective they were, and then just like hitting Xolos on the counters, just like seeing Dorlan Pavon, seeing Carlos Sanchez, seeing especially Aviles too, just like hitting Xolos with pace and just with so much space to run. But yeah, no, Monterrey definitely deserves a shout out for what they did last week, and also we got it also for Tigres too. We talked about a little bit earlier today, but just for the fans yelling Tigres instead of the goalkeeper chant. And now I guess Tigres is going to be renovating a school for every time that the fans yell Tigres instead of goalkeeper chant. So that was cool to see on Saturday.
I really want to see like what they should do, like a little documentary. Like this is what school we did because we didn't say that. I mean, if they do this for the 16, that's 16 renovated schools. I think that's genius. When I heard that the Tigres was doing that, I was like, that's genius.
Yeah.
And when I heard Tigres, and it makes sense. Hopefully that does follow.
So I want to talk about my Cruz Azul a little bit.
Oh, that's right.
It was I was happy that Felipe Mora had his first goal for Cruz Azul. I think he played pretty well. Yeah. And I think I've been really impressed with how Angel Mena has started this season for Cruz Azul. Just about every attacking play is coming through him, and he's just been absolutely critical. And I think Cruz Azul has played pretty well. Yet we still saw some serious Cruz Azul behaviors going on in this past week.
Do you see different Cruz Azul, Jason?
A different Cruz Azul.
Have you been through this before? This is like a girlfriend that you're like, I know you're about to go crazy.
I always have to be very careful in how I assess this team. A different Cruz Azul? No, not yet. It's possible, but no, not yet. Same one so far. Giving up that goal, that late 90th minute deflection goal is just about as consistent Cruz Azul as you can get.
That's textbook right there.
Time will tell. I hope Paco is given enough time to keep working, keep working. I think the roster has gotten a lot better.
Yeah,
there's a lot of depth in that team right now. So I mean, it's going to take time, but the mental baggage is still there.
I really like just a little bit of tangent. I tweeted out too. I like seeing Jordan Silva in the starting 11.
Yes.
I mean, it's always nice to see a young Mexican player given a starting role, especially a central defender. I think that's really cool to see.
Jordan.
Yeah, Jordan Silva. Yeah, but yeah, no, it's cool to see him there, and I think that's hopefully he gets more starts throughout the season.
Sorry to go back, but when I was writing, and sorry to interrupt, and really quick, I finally like Cesar Montes on my notes when I was watching. Like he did it because I haven't seen him play. Like everyone keeps saying that this Cesar Montes kid is going to be amazing, and every time I watch games, I'm like, where does everybody say it? So congratulations, this guy's good. At least last game, I was like, that's good. Maybe I've been missing out watching more Monterrey games.
He's a 20-year-old kid who plays like he's 29, and he does that regularly. And I think he's getting like better with each match. So that's why I like him. I think he's although
you like him because his name is Cesar.
Yeah, dude. We have to have at least one of the national team. Come on, Montes.
Oh yeah,
it was a little disappointing to see his debut in the Gold Cup, though. I thought that was pretty bad. Yeah. I wasn't happy with that, so I feel like he has to do well this season. He should have some motivation to do well. So.
Yeah, he's a smart player. I think that's the thing that sticks out. Like,
he
just has like for his age, he plays, as you said, just a lot of sense on the ball and a lot of game recognition for his age.
Yeah.
Joel's calling me out, said that I didn't watch the Olympics. I don't remember him. I'm sorry. I watched the Olympics, but that's maybe I didn't write down.
Was he doing archery or was it the 100-meter sprint?
100-meter dash.
Yeah.
Boxing. All right. Okay. All right. Let's talk about next week. Jornada 4. Looking forward to Jornada 4. Puebla versus Xolos, Atlas, América, Cruz Azul, Toluca, Querétaro, Morelia, Monterrey, Chivas, Pachuca, Tigres, Necaxa, León, Pumas, Lobos, Santos, Veracruz. Out of all, obviously, the big names and big teams are probably the most popular, but I really want to see Pumas, Lobos. Yeah. Can this Lobos team keep doing it? And against the Pumas, who we saw, it's not like they're tearing it up. I could see Lobos at 4-0. Big stories for this weekend.
I'm right there with you. That's the match that does it for me the most. I'm intrigued to see what's going to happen in that one. I think it could be a fascinating one. I think it can be important for both of them. So that should be a good one. Also, Cesar mentioned Necaxa earlier, and Necaxa with León, hosting León, who desperately need a win. Torrente desperately needing a win.
Yeah.
And see what happens in that one. I think that'll be an interesting match as well.
Yeah, no, I think you got to bring up that Necaxa León match, especially. I mean, you just mentioned the Torrente thing, that if they didn't get that last-second goal against Cruz Azul, that maybe Torrente wouldn't be in charge. And maybe if he doesn't get a win this upcoming weekend, then he won't be in charge after that loss. So I think that's something to keep an eye on. I think Monterrey Chivas is definitely a big game to watch. See if Monterrey can keep that momentum, and also see if Chivas, who have been understandably sluggish during the first 3 weeks, if this could be their first match where they really step up. And then, of course, I think the one that I'm going to be most excited for is Pachuca Tigres. And I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that we see Honda on the bench for Pachuca and maybe make his debut. Who knows if he will. It might take a little bit longer for him to be at full health, but I'm really hoping this is when we see it. And also just to see Tigres, just because it looks like Tuca is just trying to find room for all of his attacking options. Even with Ener Valencia out, he was still working with, it almost looked like an attack-minded 3-5-2, and to see if he'll still go with that weird three-man back line. But I think Pachuca Tigres is a big one for me. I'm looking forward to that.
I like that. I like the Friday with America going to the Estadio Jalisco to play Atlas too.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for that one too.
There may be two games that I'm just kind of like, okay, I'll sit through and watch it. But Puebla Xolos, something needs to happen there against a bad Puebla. Two bad teams. It can make for good football. Atlas America, because America's momentum, they're keeping going. Cruz Azul Toluca. This could be Torrentes. It's gonna be a good game. Okay, Querétaro Morelia. Maybe not as exciting, but then Monterrey Chivas in great form. Pizarro with the golazo last weekend. Chivas continue to do what they're doing. Pachuca versus Tigres, the return, just like you said. I mean, the start for Honda. Necaxa León, just because it's León. Pumas and Lobos, I think the most exciting match, and then maybe Santos Veracruz. Exciting football coming up finally in the storyline. The drama outside of Liga MX, which is actually a lot of fun in 4 weeks. So, upsets that you're seeing, it's kind of hard to say upsets because I would not say Pumas upsetting Lobos. It's kind of hard to put that. I don't think that counts, but Lobos keeps on going. I mean, it is an upset.
Yeah, that could be an upset. I think the upset that I'm going for is I think that Chivas could get something surprising against Monterrey. That's the big upset that I think could happen. Just because I feel like it's time for them to really step up. I know that it's gonna be difficult for them to keep the momentum from last season. But I think that I think this could be the game for them to really get something going against a Monterrey side. I know that they're home, but they don't really dominate possession. They try to sit back a little bit and try to hit teams off of counters. But I don't know. I think this could be the one for Chivas.
All right. All right. Last question. We'll go into a little bit of quickly on Mexicans abroad. But the last question we have, Liga MX managers will be fired. You know it's going to happen. Which manager do you believe will lose its job first in this season? And asking to everybody, too, on the chat. So everyone right now on the chat, go ahead and put who do you think is going to be fired first? What are our options? So we can give you some options. You got Torrente.
Yeah.
Emes.
I think you got to add in Codet too from Xolos. I don't think he will be, but I think you got to add him in at this point.
It's on the table. Yeah.
So
Puebla and Veracruz. I mean, the teams are just in a lot of trouble. And probably like the teams that have to start looking at relegation coming up next year. That these teams are going to be facing, and they just look the worst. So they could be in trouble.
Yeah.
All right. So you got to pick between those three. Who gets fired first?
Are you asking us or are you asking
yeah, you guys. And the chat. And the chat too. So you got three. You got Gemes, Torrente, and Cadet.
Or Tuca, maybe. Yeah.
And who else?
Tuca. Possibly. You never know.
Yeah, Tuca. It's about time. It's about time.
He's due.
Time for a changing of the guard. No, I think Luna from Veracruz and Garcia from Puebla. But my guess, I'm gonna go with Torrente. I think that Leon's going to get a loss this weekend, and I think he's going to be done. I think he was a little lucky to get that draw. I mean, actually, I know he was a little lucky to get that draw over the weekend. So I think that it's going to be Torrente.
Yeah, Torrente seems like the easiest answer because he's not unlike a lot of those other managers we mentioned. He's not like. He's been on the job for a little while now. Some of those other managers are brand new to it. Well, in Liga MX, it's a long, long time.
That is a long time.
I'm going like a bit of an upset. Here's my upset. I think it's a bit of a long shot, but I think Torrente might be sticking around a bit longer. And if he does, I think Paco Palencia might be in a little bit of trouble this year.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah.
That's my pick. I think he's been with the club for a while now, and I don't think they're moving forward. I think they might be slipping backwards a bit. And I wouldn't put that on him, but it always lands with the manager, and I think he might be in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, no, that's definitely one that we forgot to bring up. Was that's a good point.
6 coaches are in line to lose their jobs. That's Liga MX for you.
That's pretty standard.
All right. So that was Liga MX. Exciting coming up on week 4. Really quick, Mexicans abroad. Chicharito fighting already with his play with some of his teammates, taking control of the game. I could definitely see him struggling and not getting, being frustrated with his team, so he doesn't get the, the usual balls that he is used to getting and scoring. But Cesar, you do a great job with the Mexicans abroad. What are the storylines? Briseño? Any news?
Well, I mean, he wasn't the starting. Actually, it wasn't even the game day roster for today's match for Firenze. So we'll be interested to see when he gets some minutes, gets his debut there. I think the big talking point is Raul Jimenez, who started off his Portuguese season with a Super Cup title, and he scored in the game too. And it was interesting to see a couple of journalists that I follow online on Twitter who cover Portuguese soccer, who were saying that, I mean, just that if you look at the goals per minutes ratio, that Jimenez does quite well for Benfica.
On the bench, comes in.
Yeah, they're saying that maybe he could be he could fight for a starting role this season, and I think Jimenez does have the talents to be a great striker. I'm not gonna say he's gonna be like someone above Chicharito, but I mean he can get really close if he really wants to be. I mean, and if Chicharito's ever struggling, I feel like he could easily take over that role. But yeah, I think that's a big storyline. Lozano he won't be taking part in the Europa League this season. Unfortunately, PSV were knocked out of the qualifying rounds of that competition. He'll have to stick to just the Eredivisie, but I still think that's fine. And then yeah, I mean, you brought up Chicharito. I watched a little bit of his debut last week. This West Ham side doesn't seem to be, I don't know, that exciting. I'm not gonna pretend like I've followed West Ham for a long time. I'm not gonna pretend that like last week was the first time that I watched.
What, you didn't watch
West
him
Ham
for
a
Pablo
long time.
Barrera? El Guille
Nah,
Franco? Watching West Ham games at 6 o'clock in the morning.
but yeah, but just it wasn't that exciting to see them play, and I do wonder if Chicharito's going to struggle a little bit abroad with this West Ham side, which isn't the most exciting EPL team. He almost got a goal though in that his debut last week. He came very close.
Nice. Guardado, the captain. El Capitán Guardado reported today in Real Betis.
And they gave him the number 10 too, which is kind of, I don't know if they're going to expect him to play in that role, but I think they're going to play him as a defensive midfielder, but they did give him the number 10, which is kind of interesting.
Nice. All right, well, that's your Mexicans abroad. Is it taking forever for like the games to start, or was it because Liga MX was so early?
No, dude, we're just impatient. I'm impatient. I want everything to be starting up. Yeah, no, it's just yeah, we want
Jonathan Dos Santos.
Oh yeah, well, he's not in Europe anymore.
That's what I hear.
Still abroad. Well, I guess not.
Still, yeah. We'll see how that goes. I mean, I think if we start talking about Jonah, we'll be here until about 10 or 11 p.m. So
let's talk about just a show on all the Mexicans abroad in Colombia and Argentina. Omar Bravo is like 2 miles away from my house.
We could talk about Omar Govea, who scored in Belgium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's actually, I made a little bit of a joke, but it actually is like somewhat worth noting because guess what? He's in the same exact league as Guillermo Ochoa. So.
Thanks for telling us. Who Guillermo's had a good start. He's been away from the news.
Oh my god, I don't know. I haven't had a chance to watch his games because I don't even know how you could watch those games. That's something I have to figure out.
No, you don't. Hey, I saw there was a rumor about Aquino possibly moving to France. Which, I mean, is probably not going to happen, but I think that would just be awesome. Because he's a player I'd love to see move back to Europe.
Ajaccio?
Lille, actually, joining Bielsa over there. Which would be awesome.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
What? The internet goes crazy.
Yeah. I mean, that's not going to happen. But this is a player that I know the first go around with Rayo Vallecano didn't really go according to plan, and he's just someone I'd like to see give it another go. And I hope I don't think he's with Tigres now. I don't see him leaving Tigres to go to Europe because that doesn't happen. But this would be great for Aquino, great for El Tri. But yeah, just a rumor.
Yeah.
So
It's such a strange situation where that Mexican player who struggled abroad ends up coming back and then just becomes better. Like you don't see that. It's weird. No. It's weird to see that, but it's cool to see that. I like it, and I do hope that he can make. Well,
Aquino wasn't that good. Like Aquino had a great. I mean, I feel like Aquino Cruz Azul, and then just kind of dropped. Went to Europe, came back, and now again it looks like it's a lot better.
It was there was like definitely some missing aspects of his game that he's picked up. I mean, he's developed a shot, and he's developed
a shot. I remember watching Aquino in Copa America, 2013 was it? When they brought all the youngsters, took all the youngsters, was it? And he did really good. He did really good. I remember I was impressed by Aquino. All right, guys. No, maybe it was 2011. No, now I'm getting my.
Well, the Olympics 2012 was his coming out party, I think. Really.
Yeah.
Let's see what's up. All right, Joel wants us to talk about Game of Thrones. Great episode yesterday.
I think there was fire and there's dragons. I don't know. I was looking at Liga MX stats. I was like, I don't know. Like my girlfriend's trying to get me to watch the show, so I've been like,
oh my gosh, Cesar, you have to watch the show.
Hey, I watched it last night. I was really confused, but I watched it.
Wait, you watched that? You watched last night's episode? This is the first episode you watched?
No, that was like the fourth episode.
Oh my gosh, no!
But it was like Jason. Yeah, it's out of context. Like I was like, oh, interesting. It does look like Lobos are still working with 3 central defenders. I was like, oh, there's a lot of fire. That's kind of crazy. Oh, that's a crazy. I don't know. There's
spoilers, Cesar.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Everyone's watched it by now, right?
All right, guys.
Hey, I have a question. How did Tyrion get to the battle? Like, how? Because, I mean, he didn't ride a dragon, right? Like, how did he get there? But anyway, that's.
He walked. He was
What?
Is he the short guy?
He is.
Yes.
Okay, just making sure.
All right. Well, the producers are putting on the music now, telling us to be quiet. It's already 8 o'clock. Guys, thanks a lot for joining us on the Mexican Soccer Show. Why is everybody hating on this song? I think it just someone said it's like, what? You guys a Peruvian soccer show? It's a cumbia. It could be all over the place.
Cumbia.
Colombian. It could be in Mexico, and you know what? We're using this because cumbias are from Colombia, and that's Osorio. So
There we go.
There you go. And a lot of cumbia in Mexico City. If you feel like you have a better opening for the Mexican Soccer Show, you want to do an opening for the Mexican Soccer Show, send it to us. We might be able to feature it, guys. Well, thanks a lot for joining us at Mexican Soccer Show. We'll be here next week. Hopefully we'll see if Mr. Tom and Naib can come back and give you more surprises. Let us know how you liked our show on our comments here on YouTube. Also, like we said on the iTunes, make sure you grade us. There's not a lot of people talking about Mexican soccer in English, so there's that. There's other good podcasts out there. The Colorful Kid podcast, our friends. Los de La Cantina MX, fun guys. So the good thing is that Liga MX in English and El Tri in English is growing, guys. So keep it here, and we'll let Mr. Cesar Hernandez close us off. Cesar.
Yeah, believe it or not, we're going to have to get ready for the Mexican national team again because Mexico has those World Cup qualifiers in early September. So let's see if some backup and fringe options will really step up during the next few weeks for the national team.
All right. Well, there you go, guys. Have a wonderful night. Nos vemos. Hasta la próxima. This has been the Mexican Soccer Show.